In this video, I'm going to talk about the reason I hate mentorships. And for those of you that are watching that are considering a mentorship, you're really going to get some frame of reference of what you need to consider when you want to do a mentorship. And for those of you watching that are mentoring people, this will also give you a good explanation of why you're probably frustrated mentoring people. And it will give you another frame of reference on what you need to look out for when you're actually considering mentoring people, because I think that's equally dangerous, if not more dangerous. Now, to give you all a bit of context, my name is Antonio. I've been a professional concept artist in the game and film industry for over 8 years. I ran my own concept art studio called Sketch Studio, and I've built the only app in the world where you can learn to draw and draw at the same time, giving you the full experience. That app is called Artwod. And I've been a mentor myself, and I quit very, very early, especially in art. I do mentor business now. That's me, and that gives you a bit of a frame of reference on why I want to talk about the subject. And I'm going to break this video down in the things I like about mentorships, the problem with what I call the mentorship economy, and the things you really should look out for when considering a mentorship. So we're going to get into it. The first thing, I was a mentor in art myself, and I quit that very, very early on. And the reason for that is very simple, and it's probably the entire premise of this video, but I hated mentoring because I wasn't mentoring. To give a bit of context to this, a lot of people wanted to get mentorships from me because I was a professional artist, rightfully so, and so they wanted to get mentored by me. And this is where a lot of things go wrong. And this is where I luckily have some experience in coaching that I took into mentoring that I now also take into business mentoring. And that is that a mentorship should have a set of expectations. So when anyone goes into a mentorship, there should be an expectation on the outcome, or at least like what they want to get out of the mentorship. And that should be clear from the start. Now, there's still a problem with that because especially in art, that expectation gets broken, especially by you guys, the mentees. And this is the reason I quit giving art mentorships, because you will soon discover as an art mentor that you're not mentoring art. You're a mental health coach. And I'm sorry, that's just what it is. And most of the people watching that are giving mentorships will agree with me on this, especially in one-on-one. One-to-many has a bit of an exception to that because there's a larger group to mentor to. And so their barrier to share your mental struggles and are like they're higher. So they probably don't get shared. And it's more about just the art and the technicality of art itself. But when it's one-to-one, it quickly turns into mental health coaching. And I'll get into the reason why that is. But before we do that, let's actually look at the definition of a mentorship: a period of time during which a person receives guidance from a mentor. It's a bit vague, but it's true. It's receiving guidance from a mentor. And guidance is the correct word here. And a lot of the times, students, they walk into or they start a mentorship with the expectation of their problems going to be solved by the mentor. That is problem number one. That's a big problem, by the way, because that is not true. And that's not what a mentor is. And that's not what a mentor should be. Now, I want to redefine this definition a little bit. So I defined or redefined it as, and I'm just going to write down some keywords. A mentor responsibility is to expose weaknesses in your skill and assumptions. And then we should trust that you have the capacity to work on those assumptions and skills and eventually fix them. That's a mentorship. So a mentor's job is to expose any weaknesses that you have in your skill set or assumptions you have about your field of expertise. And it is our job to trust that you will work on them, that you will create the capacity to work on those weaknesses. And we need to trust that you will fix them. This is a big, big difference between what I see in most mentorships. The problem with most mentorships, especially art mentorships, is that that trust and capacity is actually thrown back to the mentor by you, the student. Most mentees, art students, they trust in the capacity of the mentor to fix their problems. Wrong expectation completely. Okay. And this is what I also hate about mentorships and the mentorship economy, because especially in the art community, there is no pushback on this expectation. And so this is very dangerous for anyone that is wanting to get into mentorships. So anyone that is a professional artist or someone that wants to get a bit of an extra income, which I wouldn't recommend you do it for that reason, but a lot of people do, is they start a mentorship and they look for mentees, or they have a fan base because of their social media exposure, and they do mentorships. And then all of those fans usually have this wrong frame of mind that the mentor is going to fix their capacity and they're going to trust in the mentor to fix everything they have. And usually you don't counter that argument. And so what you do out of goodwill, because you're artists and people pleasers, out of goodwill, you try to almost please the expectations of the students. So as a aspiring mentor, you're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll mentor you and we'll work on your problems and we'll fix this and we'll fix that. And by the end of this, we'll get this outcome, et cetera, et cetera. Completely wrong expectation for both parties. And so what I just mentioned is you create a lot of issues when you have a people pleaser mentoring another people pleaser. It's a recipe for disaster, because that's not what a mentorship is about. So again, a mentorship is to expose the weaknesses. Exposing weaknesses, when I say that, it means that as a mentor, I should have the trust and the confidence that I can tell you the brutally honest truth about your skill set, that I can tell you where your assumptions are wrong, or at least that I can guide you in a way, ask you questions so that you can self-discover the weaknesses in your skill set and your assumptions. This is what a good mentor does. Now, here's what a bad mentor does as well. And this is another, let's say, another mentor problem that I see all the time, is that a really good artist, like a really, really good one that everyone look up to, and they have a fantastic resume and they have a unique sort of art style, what they will do is they will over mentor the student. So what that means is that they will force, and this is different than expose, okay? They will force their opinions on skills and weaknesses onto the student. And so usually what that means is that if we take it back to art, they will force their process onto the student. They will force their thinking onto the student. And this is wrong as well. That's not what a mentorship is. And this is actually how you kill mentees, okay, figuratively. This is how you kill the spirit of someone. You can over-mentor someone. And over-mentoring means that you actually force things onto them. And that's not what a mentorship is about. So you can see that not everyone is cut out to be a mentor. And not everyone is cut out to be a mentee as well, because there should be a understanding between each other. And then there should be a sort of symbiotic relationship where both of you understand the expectations of each other, and you can be brutally honest towards each other. And it's almost like a relationship, because then and only then can you openly discuss things with still a very sort of objective way of thinking. So without actually having too many emotions be involved, especially when it's about a skill, okay? When we're talking about mentorships about mental health or something, I cannot speak on that. It's about mentorships that involve a technical skill or technicality. And this can be art. This can be physical training as well, by the way. And this can be in business as well. So I've seen this in business as well. And in business, it's the exact same thing. There will be mentors that will force their thinking onto new business owners, or there will be mentors that try to people please the mentee. But good mentors, as I had a mentor like that, they, by just asking the right set of questions, trusting in my capacity as a mentee, trusting in the fact that I will do everything in my power to fix my own problems, but ask me the right questions, dig deep into where my thought process is, where my assumptions are, where my skill is, where my look on things is, and try to expose and make me find my own weaknesses. Because it's only by understanding, like truly understanding my own weaknesses, that I can work on them. If I tell you what your weakness is, you still don't understand what your weakness is. And so this is a lot of the time what happens in a mentor-mentee relationship that gets completely broken. And this is why I hate the mentorship economy. Because overall, what most people, the incentive that most artists get into mentorships for is for money, right? Another hypocrisy is that most artists are not about money, but they do mentorships just to get money. This is not good, essentially. And so I see, and especially now with the online, with the online age, with the online way of doing business, is that too many people just start mentoring people, and usually it doesn't work. And the reason is exactly this. And that's a big reason why I stopped giving mentorships, is because I didn't want someone to pay me and then have a certain expectation for me to fix their problems. And if you have that expectation, you better pay me a shit ton more than what the current cost is for most art mentorships. All right. Because then I'm directly affecting your outcome. And even then, usually it doesn't work. All right. Now, here's why. When you want to get mentored by the best of the best, it usually costs so much money just to get a fraction of their time. So if I wanted to get mentored by the best in the world, I would probably have to pay a buttload of money for like 4 hours of their time. But here's the thing. I would pay that money for the right person because I know and trust that, one, they will not force things on me. They will deep dive and analyze my issues, my skills, my assumptions. They will pinpoint it. They will ask the right questions, and they will help me realize what I'm doing wrong or where my shortcomings are. And that for me is worth its weight in gold, honestly, because also they trust that I didn't pay them to fix my problems. I paid them to expose my problems, because they will trust in my capacity to fix them. And that's a good mentorship, not me paying them to fix my problems. Okay? You see where this is going? And so most of the time in most mentorship relationships, the mentee feels like they're overpaying because their expectation is for their problems to be fixed. And the mentor feels underpaid because they're a mental health coach to someone that is trying to get their problems fixed. And so no one's happy. And this is what I do not like about the mentorship economy. That also means that most mentors out there are not fit to mentor. Most artists out there are not fit to mentor people. Most students are not fit to be mentees. And yes, that's probably most of you watching. And I know that sounds harsh, but I don't sugarcoat things, okay? Most of you going into mentorships, you have an expectation for someone to fix your problems. And that's never going to happen. You only can fix your own problems. A good mentor will just expose them to you, and it's up to you to fix them. And so this is what I hated about giving mentorships, because when I was giving mentorships, most of the time, to give you a bit of an illustration here, how quickly a mentorship turns from a mentorship about improving skills to a mental health coaching session. It starts very slowly and it creeps up onto most people. So those of you that are mentoring, beware. You start with a mentorship, and then first week, it probably goes pretty well because remember Dunning-Kruger effect, naive optimism, high in confidence, everyone's in fairyland. And so the first 1 or 2 weeks are brilliant. They're doing the assignments you gave them or the goals you gave them, the projects they were working on, they're working on it. And then one day, one session, not everything got done. And then the first set of, whether it's excuses or real life things that happened to them, start getting thrown out. Oh, this happened to me, that happened to me, I was delayed here, I couldn't do it, I had to overwork, whatever it is. And so, and as a people pleaser mentor, you're like, that's fine, that's okay, we'll work on it next week. And then next week, another delay. And then the week after, almost nothing gets done. And then this is where it's usually like, I'm not in the right headspace right now. I'm really demotivated. I don't like what I'm doing here. And then all of these things that get thrown out during that session are a cry for help or like a reach out for you to fix their motivation. And this is where you tread into incredibly dangerous territory that you shouldn't tread into in an art mentorship. Okay? And as a student, you should also refrain from doing this because it's not helpful to put that amount of pressure onto someone else. It is your responsibility to grow as an artist. You've taken the mentorship to grow, but To grow means that we can trust in your capacity to fix your problems. And that will create a healthy mentorship. And so a mentorship can, for me at least, work better if scenario one, what I just told you, is you pay a ton of money for a very short, intensive session where both parties understand the expectation from each other. And it's just about exposing weaknesses. And then you're set on your merry way to fix them, and then maybe later you come back. Or it's a similar scenario, but the mentor works for free. And so I do this with an organization where I'm actually a volunteer mentor for young business owners, and I do that on a voluntary basis. Now, this sets a good expectation because it's still a win-win for me. One, I get to teach and get insight into other businesses. Two, I get access to a network of mentors. So that means experienced business owners that I can chat to and also get like pseudo mentored by. And so it's a win-win, but there's no expectation set because it's on a volunteer basis, quote unquote. I think the mentees still pay, and it's without conflict of interest. So that's really good. And that helps because that allows, then they create a framework where the expectations are set a bit different. And so I think that would work really well. And maybe for art, that could work as well. But I think the way the mentorship economy is set up right now, it really isn't working because I see a lot of people doing a ton of mentorships and not going anywhere. And I would say most of that responsibility lies with the mentee, the students. So you guys, the art student, not with the mentor. However, I think that for anyone considering giving mentorships, you should be aware of these issues as well. And if you're doing it just to get some extra income, but you have no idea on how to coach, guide, and mentor people, then please don't do it because you're not going to make anyone happy. With that said, if you want to be a mentee, make sure that your expectations are set right and you are honest towards the people mentoring you and you understand how much tax you will put on them and don't try to create a burden for them. And any mentor also make sure that you expose weaknesses and you do that in a way where you understand the skills or the gaps in the skills and the assumptions of the students, but you can trust in their capacity to fix them. And so that leads me to understanding their capacity. All right. So if you're a mentor, you really need to understand the capacity of the people that you're going to mentor. That's why usually in like business mentorships, they have screenings so that we can understand the capacity of people. And do not force your ideas, ideals, process, whatever onto them. And also don't be a people pleaser because that doesn't help anyone in a mentorship. With that said, I hope this was useful. And as always, happy creating, happy drawing, and I'll see you in the next one.